Hey everybody, welcome back. We're here at SOFcast Live. I'm Mike Lundstrom.
Hey, I'm Master Gunner Sergeant Stanley.
And we're pretty much closing up. I'm looking down the hallway here, and people are starting to pack up. It's been a pretty interesting week. And what we want to do is just recap for all of you, just some of the interesting things we came across. What guests interested you?
So
all of them really, but I mean, yeah.
It's hard to pin it down. But one thing that was super interesting, we had Major General Michael Martin here, who's the SOC Corps commander.
Oh yeah.
And that wasn't even planned. We had our little agenda, and as everybody knows, sometimes the best laid plans go awry. But we actually were able to just sort of ad hoc and go off script and grab him, and he was gracious enough to come in and talk to us. And I have to say, I really, we did maybe a 10-15 minute segment, but I was wishing that we had a full hour or more. I was also wishing we were in a classified space so we could really talk business. But yeah, what were your thoughts?
Oh no, I love the way we kind of talked about lethality and readiness and those things. And he kind of came, I came like, hey, that's why they don't want to meet us on the schoolyard, right? At 3 o'clock after school. He goes, but we'll be there if we need to be. He's just kind of give you those eyes. I just love the way they posture, MARSOC postures, and just portraying that image that they back up, right? It's backed up really well. So I got to tell you, there was a couple interesting ones. I'll go back to the one we did not too long after that, and that was Leslie Babbage.
Yeah.
So
she's the director of SOFworks.
Yeah, director of SOFworks. And what I really found interesting is the unique opportunity we have in special operations with the command and an organization like SOFworks. It's a 501, and they're able to bring to bear and technology to the command in a way that doesn't favor one vendor over the other, but allows things to be developed. So if I'm, this nerdy bald guy with glasses in my garage and I'm building a widget that I know, oh my gosh, like, hey, Navy SEALs could use this for, their ribs. And all of a sudden how do I get this to where it can be used? And they're a conduit. And then if I would connect with them, they would bring me into their SOFworks building, right? Which is not a government building. And they would help me develop it, or bring other industry partners together to develop it. And all of a sudden we have a widget that can be brought to bear maybe 6 months, a year sooner than it could be in a regular DoD construct. And they all services all have their version of a SOFworks. This is the advantage. Go ahead.
Yeah, this was the interesting thing is how they bring together all the stakeholders from, engineers, mechanical engineers, software, technical SMEs, with industry professionals, investors, people who are subject matter experts, like the warfighters that are down there on the FLOT, the ones who are deploying, that are down there where the rubber sort of meets the road, and they have that expertise on the ground. They're bringing that all together and meshing it, synchronizing it, and again, to your point, to field practical solutions in a more rapid time frame, and I would assume at lower cost as well, because time equals money.
Yeah. So I thought another interesting interview we did was Jeremy Lyle. That one I think got cut off live stream a little bit, but it was really interesting to see how him and General Edwards, who wasn't here, but he talked a little bit about, are just getting after that theater. And then how I think the most interesting thing was he's a 5th group guy who is now in Europe, which is a 10th group area of operation.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, if I could have gone earlier to take an assignment outside of the group that I was in, I would have learned more. And that's hard to do because in SF, they're language experts in that particular theater. So they're developed for being theater experts in that area. So it's hard to do, but he says, that I would have done that because now being in Germany, he's learned so much more and broadened so much more. Although the latter end of his career, it was still interesting. On top of it, he's going after his education doctorate degree.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
He's in the throes of education right now, feeling the pain, and I'm feeling it with him in my graduate program. But he talked a lot. I mean, there's pros to being regionally aligned. Okay, when you deploy back to the same areas over and over, you build enduring relationships. You understand the culture. You have expertise in language. You understand the malign actors and the threat networks that exist in those areas of the world, and also the other underlying issues and challenges, right? Whether it's access to resources,
Mhm.
right? Employment, electricity, water, whatever it is, disenfranchised populations then become susceptible to terrorism or transnational organized crime and things like that, which are the undercurrents of terrorism,
Yeah.
right? But again, to be able to branch out and have some diversity in your career will prepare you for some of those senior level positions if you aspire to make it to that level.
Yeah. So we also, I thought was pretty cool. We had a good opportunity to do some recordings that will be out probably a month or two from now as we release one episode every 2 weeks. But we were able to interview Command Sergeant Major TJ Baird and Command Sergeant Major Joanne Nauman,
Yeah.
which was pretty freaking cool, man.
Yeah,
That was
cool.
funny.
It's not a first for the show, but it was a first for us as the new host for season 5 to have a couple on at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. And for them, 2 sergeants major working at the nominative level, right, and married, right, and the challenges that come along with that, selfless service. At that level, it's not about you anymore, right? But also making their marriage work. So they've got the challenges with work, and then you've got challenges at home, especially when you're not always geographically co-located.
And I'm going to tell you what, if you want to see an entertaining episode, and as they kind of talk about some of their domestic challenges with as simple as folding towels and which way does the toilet paper go on?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, I have
Oh,
my
yeah.
feelings on this, but I'm gonna hold those. Hopefully, we can unlock the comments on that, and we can
Yeah.
have a little debate.
Oh,
I know
man.
which side of the fence I sit on.
I can't even believe this was a thing. This is a thing?
This is a thing.
All right. Well,
I said toilet paper, right? Beards are good, mullets are bad, right? And I'll just leave it at that. Hey, another
Oh, my God.
breakaway episode that we were able to film while we were down here. We had the Assistant Secretary for Defense, Special Operations, Low Intensity Conflict, the Honorable Chris Mayer.
right.
That was amazing to have someone from the DC, the National Capital Region, that's the civilian advocate for SOF at the Pentagon.
So what's interesting about him, there's 2 things issue, what he's doing, but I think what's even more interesting is to understand that he is a civilian, started as a civilian in the intelligence community, worked his way up through the DoD department. There's something being developed there when they develop talent. And he's one of the people that benefit from that because he's a reservist on the other side, but that's, he even said that's not, where he draws from because he was developed as a civilian. So now you have civilians in the Pentagon that provide that oversight. And what was really, really cool is what he talks about is advocating. And for us in special operations, we have a service-like responsibility as well as a combatant command responsibility globally. So how do you organize, train, and equip when you're like a service at the same time you have the roles? Right.
Title 10, 164, and 167.
Right. If you go back to prior to the end of World War II, the Marines have the Pacific Theater. They're doing exactly that: organize, train, equip, and provide combat power and command and control through the Department of Navy and all that, or the War Department. So, but here you got this where services provide to COCOMs, but here in SOCOM we have to do it all. And what he highlighted was interesting, and I recommend tuning into this episode because we have a special acquisition authority as well for special operations where we can develop equipment like we talked about. SOFworks is one avenue, but the ability to just go out and buy it commercial off the shelf and then develop it even further through that acquisition authority. But he provides oversight and all that. He advocates for us for budget and everything else.
Yeah. So one of the things that I noted, and I brought this up during the interview, when you're at the tactical level, you're in the team E5, 6, 7. I'm speaking from personal experience. I was focused down and in. I wanted to be competent at my job, subject matter expert, right? Whether that's breaching, shooting, if I'm flying small unmanned, SUAS, if I'm an intel professional, whatever it is, communicator, I want to be good at my job and value added to that team. I was incapable, maybe, maturity wise at that level
I think we all were.
To appreciate the strategic impacts and some of the other aspects of SOF that are out there that are not just direct action or special reconnaissance related. So that was just good. And the plug I would make is for anybody out there listening that's at that level in the team now, take a moment to educate yourself on what the other aspects that SOF does out across the, the global SOF enterprise, if you will, across the entire world, in, all the countries that we're in, all the relationships and the, by, with, and through our partners and allies. There's many activities that we're doing that are all designed to deter aggression. We don't want to get to conflict, right? We want to create stability and the conditions for peace.
we want prosperity, right?
Right.
I think we all want that.
So it's important to educate ourselves, not just to be good shoot, move communicators, medicators, that sort of thing, but also, again, the things that come left of bang, so that we can hopefully deter the next conflict.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I want to touch on something real quick because this week was about relationships as well. That's what SOF Week does. It brings together everybody that in the SOF special operations enterprise, SOF professionals, SOF industry, and our partners, the partners globally. And it used to be every other year we bring in a whole bunch of partners. I think they just bring them in now every year when the ones that can participate. Because I saw quite a few international service members run around here engaging. And there's one thing we do with SOF. It's those partnerships that help us stay left of bang so we don't have to go into what you were talking about, those relationships. But it's also important to understand that industry is tied to us as well. Yeah. We cannot do it without our contract forces that provide manpower. We can't do it without manufacturing industry that provides technology as well as stuff, the gear we wear. It's all there. And with that said, I'm going to answer this question, but I'm going to ask you this question. What was the coolest thing you saw while you were here this week?
So I will tell you that if you are sort of techie or you're enamored with, the industry side, the capabilities, the different whiz-bang gear, I was like a kid in a candy store here, right? I mean, there was everything from, robotics to submersibles, unmanned systems, weapons platforms, new vehicles. I mean, tactical dirt bikes and things that are light years ahead of what we had when I was, running around Afghanistan. But I just want to, again, take it back to the people, because every single one of those platforms, whether they're weapons, communications platforms, drones, whatever they are, there's a human behind that platform, right? There's someone who interfaces that either makes the decisions, allocates that resource, employs it in the best way, makes the best use out of it, or interprets the data. And I'm not bashing AI or any of those.
No, we're not going to be building T2000s anytime soon.
But you need that human interaction. That's why humans are more important than hardware. The first one of three of General Fenton's priorities is people, right? And again, I'm not anti-tech. I'm just saying that invest in our people first, and the tech will come.
Well, the tech. So I saw something yesterday that was pretty interesting that helps protect people, because we can have people, the less we put them in harm's way but still accomplish the mission, the better off we are. So they had this I can't say the name of the company, but they had a robot dog, which we've all seen them, like Boston Dynamics. I saw a real the model,
life Belgian Malinois, and this robotic dog, and they don't get along well.
No, they don't. But the robot dog had about a 6-7 hour loiter time in full active mode, and it had cameras, sensors, and everything else. So you could put it in you can walk it remote control out to a position to do reconnaissance without putting somebody in harm's way, or say it's a chemical environment, right? Either way. And then he says, he goes, and then if I put it down in rest mode, it has a 22 hour loiter time, and it can just sit there and just use its cameras. And I thought that was pretty cool, because like that's something that we can monitor from not necessarily the rear, but from a better hide site, right?
Yeah, you can put it out as a sensor,
right?
Either
exactly,
listening or watching or what have you, retrans and other things. So super cool. Hey, we've got a few minutes here. You haven't really talked much about what you do at the Joint Special Operations University. You're the course director for Summit, and I only am tying that in because you had an opportunity to bring your
Yes.
current students out here, which are all preparing for service at the nominative level. You want to talk a little bit about what they were doing here at SOF?
No, not really. No, yes, I do.
I'm going to put you on the
Yeah,
spot.
no, it's fine. No. So I do run a course. It's about 3 weeks long. It's for the nominative E9s, getting ready.
That's just the residency portion, though, right?
Yeah, the resident. Yeah, that was the 3 weeks. It's a 3-month course in total, blended learning. But we do spend a week here resident doing a bunch of academic stuff. Then we go travel to Washington D.C. and hit very important agencies and get strategic level briefs. And then the third week we look at the enterprise. Well, the third week when we look at the enterprise, we have TSOC, C-cells, and commanders that engage with them, but they can't come to classroom because they're here. So we brought the class here, and they got to engage with various panels and everything going on here. And what this does is this whole thing, I think this gives them a good idea how large this thing is and better prepares them to work. They're in their 06 level C-cell jobs now, but they're going to go to the nom level, many of them. And this kind of gives them a bigger aperture sight to what's going on.
So what a perfect storm, though, with all the senior leaders that are just sort of aggregating here in Tampa, for you to have your students come out and engage with some of these leaders. And I think this afternoon they're going to get a chance to go and hear from the Honorable Mr. Mayor as well.
So Chris Mayer's going to drop by and take a debrief of them and interact with them, which is pretty important because they get the touch point at the very top level of our civilian leadership, and that sort of gives them a picture of what's going on. Now they can see the whole enterprise, top to bottom, when we send them back to their commands and they're advising commanders, and more importantly, they're carrying the water for the commander and they're advising the force. Man, are they better informed, right? And that's what we do at the academy, but more importantly, what we do at JSAL writ large. The whole idea of JSAL is to build that mental, peace, so we're better prepared to think about this challenging, ambiguous environment coming forward. So I can't say it enough. In fact, the JSAL booth was right behind us all week. And what was interesting about that is they had, all their the JSAL press had all their stuff out there, and there's some pretty heavy reading there for a lot of people. They really want to dig into something. Man, they do it all. It's pretty incredible. So
it's awesome.
Yeah.
No, for me, it was just a pleasure and an honor to be here and help to represent SOCOM at such a big event as SOF Week, through this platform. So I just couldn't be happier. And here we are on Thursday. I'm getting ready to wrap it all up.
Yeah, it is. As I'm talking to you, I'm watching people over there packing with the FBI over. They pulled out already. Probably do some hostage negotiation somewhere. But anyway, it's been really cool, man. And I look forward to doing this next year. And I think as our audience grows, that we'll be able to do that. And speaking of our audience growing, we want you guys to be able to provide comments and suggestions to us. Try to find us on your favorite platform. We're on all of them. You can hit the audio only on Spotify, Apple, or whatever favorite podcast platform you have, or you can find the visual if you like looking at us. I'm not so sure I like looking at me, but we're on
made for radio.
Yes, that's right.
That's right.
And we're on YouTube as well, which we're coming across live. So any closing comments or words?
I just want the last word. I just wanted to say a couple thank yous. So I want to say thanks to the SOCOM PAO folks who were instrumental in setting this whole thing up. And I also want to give a kudos and a thank you to the talented team of audio and video techs that we have here that set all this equipment up and make it work. We absolutely couldn't do the job, without them.
Yeah, Will helps us sound like audio chocolate. Travis is over there working the technical aspect of it. And Rod really directing us and being the coach. And then Sergeant Major Jason Baker leading us through this. It's been pretty cool. So thank you guys for that.
Lastly, I just want to say thanks for the audience, for the folks who have tuned in, that are watching or listening to some of these live feeds, and certainly for the folks who are staying tuned and staying on top of each episode as we drop them. So if you're liking the content so far, We had season 5, episode 1, Alejandro Villanueva. That was a couple weeks ago.
And then one just dropped
this
this
Wednesday.
week.
We just had Dr. Brittany Loney talking about human cognitive performance and how to optimize that and your sleep cycles, neuroplasticity.
That's one of my favorite episodes.
Awesome.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So if you haven't, done so yet, hey, subscribe so you don't miss any content that we're dropping. I mean, we've got about 7 or 8, 9 episodes that we've already filmed, and we're going to be releasing them every 2 weeks or so. So stay tuned for what's next.
Hey, tune in to SOFcast.
Thanks.